Hello, gladiators, and welcome back to another episode of the life and suffering of Sir Brante. Previously, where we left off, we faced the social consequences of our decisions as a judge uh, by siding with uh, by siding with the common lot a little bit too often. We put our career in jeopardy, and we had to call in favors from many of the noble families that we have made connections with, causing rather public disgrace on our family. Let's see what we can do about that. So we need to get willpower up very soon. But our diplomacy is high as sin, so that's nice. And that was only the first year as peacetime. Okay. Two powerful lords have been struggling for power in Magra over 2 years now. The new overseer of the province, Gaius Tempest, cannot seem to rein in the obstinate spirit of Archduke Tarquinius Melanidas. Unwilling to accept that he is no longer the overseer of Magra, the Archduke still stubbornly continues to assert his right to rule the province. Most of the Magran gentry, who swore allegiance to him generations ago, remain loyal to him even now. Gaius Tempest has publicly demanded that the Archduke recognize the overseer's rule as legitimate. One moment. Sorry about that. There was something updating on my computer I had to stop. It's coming back. Okay. Everything should be good now. Looks like it stopped updating that. I am the voice and the will of Emperor Uther II in the province of Magra. All lands, deeds, and titles notwithstanding, Archduke Melanidas must obey his sovereign's will and heed his decree. I hereby extend to the Archduke an offer of peace. Should the Archduke cease his insubordination, his lands, deeds, and titles shall remain his own. The Archduke's response to the overseer was openly defiant. Since the days of yore, the land of Magra has belonged to the Melanidas dynasty. We are part of the empire, and we are the emperor's loyal servants. However, our dynasty will not stand for such intrusion upon our lawful rights and privileges. Never before has an archduke been stripped of his right to represent the emperor's rule in his own province. So do not forget, Sir Overseer, that the highest noble families of Magra have sworn fealty to me alone. Neither the Archduke nor the Overseer will relent, but both are too powerful to be readily disposed of. The bad blood between the two Archmenes has festered for too long, and the common people have begun to pay the price for their strife. Stripped of the Overseer's tax privileges, the Archduke Melanidas has decided to impose his own levy upon the citizens and villagers of Magra. The commoners are now forced to pay taxes twice, first to the Overseer, and then to the Archduke. This double burden is too much for the common people of Magra to bear. Many have refused the second tax outright as a lawless measure, but the Imperial Legion, led by young Dorius Otten, is ruthless. Eagerly and without mercy, the Legion soldiers collect the Archduke's due in cities and villages alike. And all that work we did for the affluence of Magra. We were there. We were at 8. This last year has been an ordeal for your family. The pains taken by the ennobled by the sword and close attention of the city aristocracy, the squabbles between Stefan and Gloria. Tonight your preoccupied father has gathered the entire family around a table in the backyard. The sun has almost set, and there's a soft breeze, but instead of a meal in the open air, you are going to attend a family meeting. In the middle of the table, you see an open gilded box. It is full of jewels. Archduke Melanidas himself has bestowed this gift upon us. It is a surprise indeed. I thought you all had a right to know. Father unfolds a letter, laying beside the box. Sir Robert Brante, I bestow this precious box upon you and your family as a symbol of the care with which I treat the people of my province. Pray accept this gift, and remember with whom the loyalty of the true nobles of Magra lies. Archduke of Magra, Tarquinius of the Melanidas. The family stares in amazement at the jewels sparkling in the last rays of sunshine. It's worth quite a fortune. But the Archduke is fully aware that I am on the side of Prefect Elborn and Overseer Gaius Tempest. Could he really expect our loyalty to be bought so brazenly? On the other hand, the Archduke is not demanding anything of us, and our family has borne a lot of expenses recently. Father, no one is forcing you to side with Melanidas. Who are we in comparison to the Archduke anyway? We must not anger him by refusing his gift. The jewels are certainly welcome. They are worthy of being shared with the best families of Anasat. They will pave our way to the nobility of the sword. Mother shakes her head glumly. I have a feeling this gift bodes ill. It may be an impertinence on my part, but I do not want our family to be indebted to the Archduke. Certainly not. Accepting gifts from Melanidas? He's infamous for oppressing the commoners and robbing villages blind with his taxes. This isn't your decision, Gloria. It's a matter of our family's honor and reputation. Please don't start bickering again. Let Roman say what he thinks we should do with this gift. You are the center of attention now. Your vote will be the deciding factor. We need willpower up, but we also need a better reputation. Our family... Okay, unity is higher at the moment. And does this get us an upgrade to the valor portion? Doesn't, but it gets us out of inexperienced in scheming. Let's go back to the scene. I think... for this one, we'll go ahead and stay on this. But I think the next chance we get, we need to get willpower. I feel like something big is coming up, but I always feel that way when we're low on willpower. You agree with Stefan. A gift from the Archduke is not to be refused. It would be better to use it for a more important goal, obtaining the nobility of the sword. You and Stefan will determine when, how, and to whom the gifts will be given. I'm inclined towards the same solution. Let it be so. I'll send a note to the Archduke expressing our humblest gratitude, but I'll point out that I don't mean to change sides. I still serve my prefect and my overseer. Be careful, Father. The Melanidas house is not to be trifled with. But the Archduke will have nothing to reproach you with. Rome and I will put the jewels to good use. You and Stefan spend the next couple of weeks arranging meetings and attending receptions and feasts. You discover that you are on par with your brother in your understanding of the nobility of Anazat, including their relations and their quirks. The generous gifts and the refined manners your brother and you display before the aristocrats allow your family to rise in their esteem. There is but one disadvantage. You do not have a single coin tucked away in the family treasury. Man, we're getting real close to Master Diplomat. And now we're a conspirator. Please give me a chance to get willpower. I'd be ever so grateful, game. You have just completed your first year of service at the prefecture. Several days after your second year begins, there's a knock at the door. You look up from your paperwork and tell the visitor to come in. Sir Elborn's secretary slips inside quietly. The prefect has an important matter to discuss with you in his office. Augustin Elborn looks weary and aged, but he greets you with his usual characteristic warmth. You take a seat in the comfortable chair across from him. Sir Elborn asks his secretary to pour you and him some wine. Sir Brante, good to see you. I hope the judge's trade is coming easily to you now. I must admit I've been watching your first cases rather closely. You've already had to resolve a rather difficult land dispute between a commoner and a noble. We will see even more litigation of this kind in our province in the future. Now, it's time for you to answer an important question. In this great dispute between the two estates, where will you stand as a judge? Take a look around you. Life in the Empire as we know it is changing. It is our duty as nobles and judges to make peace between all the states on the basis of the law. However, the prefecture faces a great hindrance in its pursuit of this goal. Many nobles are still determined to abide only by the traditions of old, especially the Archnians. For those nobles, the only law above them is the Court of Honor, where noble ranks and duels decide everything. They reject the jurisdiction of the prefecture and outright defy the newer laws and regulations of the Empire. This is to say nothing of what happens when an Archnian has a dispute with a human commoner. Some Archnians would rather cut a human down then and there than waste time on what they see as pointless litigation. Even though the law says that all the Emperor's subjects have the right to a fair and just trial. One of the most flagrant violators of the law is Dorius Otten, the commander of your province's military. You've encountered him before, haven't you? That Archnian nobleman is a notorious duelist. Anyone who crosses his path risks insulting his honor. His sword has ended the lives of many human nobles, not to mention all the commoners who have been unlucky enough to run afoul of him when he was bored. Surely you realize, Brante, that we are the only ones who can protect those people. The low-born lot forbids a commoner to arm himself, and even those who would rather defy their lot have no chance against Dorius Otten, one of the most skilled Archnian swordmasters. Otten cannot be allowed to commit murder with impunity. We have to stop him and all the others who act as he does. Imperial law must prevail over their barbarous traditions. Barbarous? Barbaric. I'm just going to change it there. But as of now, I have no authority to put Otten on trial. Our province still abides by the old traditions, and humans are powerless against the dynastic power of the Archnian aristocracy. Putting an Archnian on trial for his crimes would be unthinkable at best. We have to work gradually to change this, Brante. I need you as an ally. What we have to do is strengthen the power of imperial law in Magra so that eventually everyone will respect the law, from humble beggars to highborn Archnians. We must show everyone that the law is not a noble instrument of oppression against the common folk. Like the divine law, imperial law must stand above all, with no regard for birth, rank, or title. That is why I have decided to address you today, Roman Brante. Side with the law. Side with your father and myself. Side with justice in every case always, no matter who stands trial before you, be they lowly commoner or noble elite. With enough precedence, we will put an end to highborn tyranny and ensure that the law is respected throughout the province. But I must warn you, even here at the prefecture, I am not all-powerful. Many judges oppose my point of view. Not openly, at least not yet, but I am certain they will work against us in the shadows. Now, Brante, what is your answer? Are you ready to side with me and change our province for the better? Are you prepared to support me against the high-handed gentry and defend the common folk from the likes of Dorius Otten? This feels like the way I should go. Everybody equal under the law. Can't get away with it just because you got an L in your name. This doesn't really... It doesn't look like there's any destiny attached to it. I just need to... I'll do it. Do it. I know I said I wanted to get willpower, but I don't have the willpower to get more willpower. You nod energetically, determined to support Elborn and bring nobles and Archnians under the rule of imperial law. You realize the risks, but for the future of the Empire and its subjects, you are willing to face them. You seal the promise with a handshake. The prefect leans back in his chair and points at the glasses full of wine. I never doubted you, Brante. With your potential and youthful zeal, nothing will stop us now. And now, a toast. To the triumph of law in Magra. Your glasses clink melodically. The prefect takes a sip, then puts the glass down to instruct you further. Remember to be cautious. Between the powerful nobles and many other judges at the prefecture, there will be no shortage of enemies on this path. There will be times when I will be unable to help you. My own position is too unstable as is, so please do not draw too much of their ire. Letting their wrath reach you is the last thing I want. Last but not least, we mustn't be too hasty. If we move too fast and enforce the law against the nobles too soon, they might take up their swords as they have before. We have to prevent an uprising and avert bloodshed. At all times, be just, but also wise and alert. I'm glad to see you on the side of justice. I'm counting on you, and you can count on me in return, Roman Brante. May luck be with you in the service to the Empire. You return to your office, your desk covered with endless paperwork as always. At first glance, nothing has changed, but now you realize the great and important cause working quietly behind your daily grind. Deep in thought, you sit at the desk once again. What fate awaits you in service to this cause? You gave Elborn a promise to support him in his fight against the tyranny of the nobility. Night is falling over Anazat. The stifling heat gives way to an eagerly anticipated freshness. After a day at work, you stroll home at a leisurely pace. You turn down a side street that you have known since you were a little boy. It is as if your legs are acting of their own accord, bringing you to the place of your childhood play, the remnants of the wooden fort. So much has changed since the days when you used to play with your little friends. Engrossed in your memories, at first you fail to notice that you are not alone. A tall figure in the uniform of a Legion officer approaches you. You see unruly brown hair and a twinkle in his eye. It is Thomas. Now that's a surprise. Hi, Brante. Fancying running into you the moment I'm back in town. There we go. Man, it's been weird trying to read today. Your childhood friend puts his arm around you. Our battalion got transferred here recently. We're under the command of the Magra Legion now. I'm keeping the peace and maintaining order in my very own province. Well, why don't we catch up? Let me buy you dinner. We'll have a little chat, remember the old days. Thomas cuts himself short. You suddenly notice how much older he looks. His face has become sharper and rougher, and his eyes are filled with exhaustion rather than their usual mischievous sparkle. I should warn you though, Roman, I ain't the best company nowadays. I've managed to get myself some powerful enemies already. I'm a friend who could taint your good name, so if you'd rather not be seen with me, well, I understand. The smile on his face starts to fade. Okay, so we've already gotten Path of the Nobleman, but the thing is, we are bound by friendship. You aren't about to miss a chance to spend some time with your old friend, no matter what kind of danger he's in. You give Thomas your hand. You shake hands firmly. So you haven't forgotten your old friend Brante. It's the way it ought to be. Well, come on then. You go to a tavern reminiscing about your childhood antics on these very streets along the way. You choose a table in the far corner of the tavern. Thomas orders a bottle of good wine and some food. You talk about your latest case, about your first years back in Anazat. You share family news, your quest to become nobles of the sword, the quarrels between your elder brother and sister, your mother's health. Thomas nods with concern. Sounds like you've had some tough times. Family has always been different. Mine, on the other hand, it's the same as it ever was. My pa is always in his workshop, and my ma's always doing chores. But look at me. I came home a service-class nobleman. Although it doesn't bring me much joy anymore. Thomas is suddenly grim. You ask your old friend to share his troubles with you. He quickly glances around the room and lowers his voice. Well, I'm a captain in the Magra Legion now. And who's our commander? His Excellency Dorius Otten. That's right. I serve under the very same Archne in whose toes I stepped on back in Eterna. And you better believe he remembers me. I'm afraid things are going to end real bad. But hey, I'll figure it out somehow. Don't trouble yourself over it. Apart from that, well, it's the usual service. We impose order in uppity towns and villages, protect the province, that sort of thing. And we run drills all day long, obviously. If only you knew how sick I am of them barracks, Roman. I've thought about starting a family. My ma keeps telling me to find a nice girl to marry. She says it's high time I got hitched. It is completely dark, and you are still talking. Finally, Thomas remembers that his parents are waiting for him. You get up from the table, leaving some dirty dishes and quite a few empty bottles behind. On your way out, you catch a glimpse of a nondescript figure following you to the door. As you walk alongside Thomas through your home neighborhood, you keep glancing over your shoulder. But the shadow that was following you has disappeared. You reach your street and stop for a while in the semi-darkness between your family homes, just as you used to all those years ago. Bye, Brante. I hardly ever come to Anazat these days. Our battalion is always on the march all over the province. But twins willing, we'll see each other again, real soon. You advise your friend to safeguard his every life. Well, thank goodness we got some willpower back. Not like we had a choice, though. We made the pact. How many times is the first year at the prefecture going to come to an end? I feel like this is the third or fourth time we've read that. Your first year at the prefecture has come to an end. You are not a young student anymore. You know now that a judge's trade means so much more than knowing the law and carrying it out. Resolving a litigation of any importance requires striking a balance between the code of law, high society's opinion, and the whims of the provincial powers that be. Your second year is beginning, and it feels much tougher already. Trampled by the nobles, the commoners seek help, and so they turn to the law. They turn to you. A carriage takes you through the Silver District of Anazat. It is early morning and you have just received a letter bearing the seal of the City Hall. Remy Elverman, the magistrate of Magra himself, wishes to see you at once. The mere sight of the magistrate's invitation is enough to make you scowl. There is no doubt about your newest case regarding the Quorum Gazette, which may spell trouble for everyone involved. A provincial legislature, the Lesser Quorum governs the volume and distribution of taxes in Magra. After a new law created by the Emperor's own brother Cornelius Tempest several years ago, commoners of considerable wealth were granted representation in the Quorum on par with the nobility, thus forming the Lesser Quorum. Now the representatives of the lowly estate have found a newspaper of their own, and this Quorum Gazette, distributed all across Anazat, fervently argues for commoners' rights in provincial governance. The man behind the newspaper is Meyer Egmont, a well-off industrialist and owner of several silver mines, and it was his article and his demands that brought about this litigation. You take out a newspaper and read Egmont's article printed within. It addresses Imperial Overseer Gaius Tempest directly. We demand that Sir Overseer Gaius Tempest cease his habitual disregard for our meetings. From our Emperor, Uther II, we received the lawful right to assemble and sit in the Lesser Quorum, and we say to the Overseer, our voice must be heard, our message must be accepted. The carriage stops in a square by a luxurious building. This is the City Hall, where imperial officials manage all domestic and economic matters of Anazat. You are escorted up a long, winding staircase to the door of the magistrate's office. You now stand before Remy Elverman, aptly named. The magistrate maintains a haughty bearing in spite of his vulnerable age. His face bears the sharp, proud features so common among the old aristocracy.
Ah yes, Sir Judge. You are from the Brante family, I believe. I appreciate your prompt arrival. I'd rather not waste your time and get right down to business. The matter for which I called you here is urgent indeed. You are judging a case against that newspaper by the Lesser Quorum, are you not? I've had a torrent of complaints against it from the most venerable members of the Quorum. They say Meyer Egmont has insulted Gaius Tempest, our overseer, and an Archnean from the Emperor's own great dynasty. And I say they're absolutely right. The Empire gave those uppity commoners a hand in managing the province's very well-being, which is already a violation of their lowly lot. But no, that wasn't enough for them, it seems. You've earned the mantle only recently, Sir Brante, but you must realize that this is an affront to the honor of the entire nobility. I expect you to do your duty as a judge and immediately find a pretext for shutting down their pathetic gazette. Elbowen, your prefect, might think otherwise. However, Sir Brante, if you exercise enough wisdom and cunning, I am certain you will realize which position is most beneficial to you. With your youth and potential, it'll do you good to have powerful friends on your side. I'm sure you'll reach the only appropriate and just verdict when closing this case. I hope you will be duly judicious. For now, farewell.
You return to the prefecture lost in thought. Sir L. Vermin is right. Your word is all it will take to shut the Lesser Quorum newspaper down. As a judge and a nobleman, you do not even need a reason. The people running the Gazette are mere commoners, no matter how wealthy they might be. There was no breach of law, however. Meyer Egmont's article simply requested that the overseer of Maga hear what the Lesser Quorum has to say. You can reject the nobility's complaints and assure the commoners they may rely on the prefecture's justice, but Sir L. Vermin and many fellow judges will be outraged. Father learns that the case has been assigned to you. He visits you and offers some advice. You're in quite a predicament now, son. If you try to appease one party, the other will be furious. Wouldn't you rather see if there's any way to make a peace between them? We could host a party at our estate and invite both Egmont and the noble elders from the Quorum. If you are successful at diffusing their quarrel, no one would object if you decide to legitimize the Quorum Gazette. Even L. Vermin wouldn't be against it if the nobles stopped complaining. However, Father is not your only visitor of note that day. Ah, here he comes. Shortly after the door closes behind him, the familiar face of Judge Carlo Fockgraben appears in your office. He looks around cautiously before speaking his mind. I hear you've been ordered to deal with that newspaper run by wealthy commoners. It's a complicated case indeed. If you ask me, work like that deserves to be rewarded. Why not make the most of it? You're quite close with Prefect Elborn, are you not? Almost related, as it were. What if you were to shut down the paper and seize the printing press? All it would take is Sir Prefect's signature. And my friends among the Quorum nobles, why, they could use a gazette of their own. I would be delighted to help you put that printing press in good hands. Just think of it. You would shut down a subversive periodical and help our esteemed nobles spread their message, all while earning a lucrative reward for your efforts. It's quite a coup, really. Everyone wins. Do think on it, Brante. He leaves and you are left alone in your office to deliberate. Wow, I've got all 4 options. If you decide to shut down the Gazette, how far should you go? If you choose to legitimize the periodical, how far will you go about it? We gotta go for this one, right? The family wealth takes a hit, but nothing that immediately puts us out of moderate means. And we need to get reputation or wealth up to 8, I believe. Let's try and get this one. It just seems like the right choice. You spend several days scheduling audiences, exchanging greetings, and presenting invitations to the senior nobles of Anazot. You have to pull all the strings you have and muster all your knowledge of Anazot high society, to say nothing of the family funds you spend throwing a suitable party for such esteemed guests. After much effort, both the nobles and the commoners from the Lesser Quorum have gathered together at your family estate at last. Mayor Egmont, owner of the Quorum Gazette, has accepted your invitation as well. The nobles are clearly vexed at having to tolerate the commoners' presence, yet they maintain the decorum etiquette demands. You tactfully take advantage of the situation to begin a negotiation. You inform the esteemed gathering that you are the judge handling the case of the Quorum Gazette. In your opinion, a periodical for the legislature is a most useful initiative, but only if the entirety of the Lesser Quorum shows support for the Quorum Gazette, and only if the Gazette represents the opinions of all of its members, including commoners and nobles alike. Your words are met with a flurry of resentful, shouting, disputing voices. People start to argue. Sometime later, the Gazette owner, Meyer Egmont, takes his turn to speak. He looks almost like a nobleman. Egmont is well groomed and wears expensive clothing only a wealthy industrialist could afford. Nevertheless, his rough manner of speaking and boorish posture betray his humble origins. I do say there's some truth in what you're saying, Sir Brante. We did begin the Gazette without asking the noble sirs for their opinion. Still, if they let us have our articles printed, I suppose I'll agree to publish their opinions as well. This leads to another fervent debate. Some nobles reject sharing a periodical with the lowborn, while the more obstinate commoners of the Quorum insist they already have the right to publish the Gazette on their own. It takes you no small amount of time and negotiation to bring both sides to an agreement. It's settled then. As the owner of the Quorum Gazette, I pronounce it the official and legitimate newsletter of the Lesser Quorum, and the noble sirs are invited to publish their articles on the state of affairs in our province. Industrialists and merchants surround you and shower you with praise as a skillful negotiator. Tonight you defended more than a newspaper. You stood up for the entire common estate of the province. Father keeps his distance for most of the party, but once matters are settled, he pats you on the shoulder. Excellent work, son. You chose the path of justice while staying on the good side with the powerful nobility. Even Magistrate Vermin won't hold this against you. Your career at the prefecture will surely flourish. Let's just hope your notoriety as a protector of the common folk won't harm you in the future. Feel like you kinda jinxed me there, Dad. The night is over. One by one, the esteemed guests leave the Brante estate, the family home you know so well. You never thought the affairs of the entire province would be one day decided within these familiar walls. But I think that is where we are going to end today's episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, ring the notification bell. I'll see you guys next time in the next video. Thank you all so much for watching. Have a good night.